So, first film we're talking about Gavin O'Connor release. It's called The Way Back. It stars Ben Affleck. Al Madrigal's in it too, randomly, which is kind of funny. And it's directed by Gavin O'Connor. If you don't know who Gavin O'Connor is, he directed Warrior and The Accountant before. Those are the only two films that I've seen from him. I think he's a really talented filmmaker, so I was really excited for this film to check it out. I was pretty late on the release. It came out March 6th. So yeah, I was really excited to see this because it looked really good. Plus, it's a sports film, and I have a soft spot for sports films. I'm pretty sure there's been a decent amount of sports films in my top 100. I know Remember the Titans is in there, Rudy's in there, Sandlot's in there, spoiler alert, and it's just a little bit higher. Hoosiers is also really great. So yeah, sports films are great. I love Friday Night Lights, the show, and even the movie. So yeah, sports films, have a soft spot for me. Miracle as well. I keep thinking of them. But so this one should be an easy movie to review, right? Like this should be an easy one, like an easy movie magic, right? Not really. I'm not saying that this film doesn't have the movie magic or it isn't an easy movie for me to review, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. I'm kind of doing something a little bit interesting with this one. Because I usually in my notes, I usually have whether or not the film has the movie magic or not, like right at the end, like of my section of notes that I'm talking about the said film that I'm talking about. But I don't have it for this one, so I'm just gonna go through. And you know what? No, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I have it. Thoughts on whether this film has a movie magic or not in my notes. So I'm just blatantly lying to you. I'm just spreading fake news on this podcast. So unsubscribe now because I'm a liar. I just lied. But doesn't fucking matter because I'm gonna still review this goddamn fucking movie. Now I'm swearing too much. It's still whiskey talking. I swear to God, every time I drink whiskey, I start swearing like a sailor. Every time. I mean, it doesn't help that, I work in construction and worked in maintenance before that. That doesn't help. And, being in college doesn't help either because there's just fucks and shits thrown around like it's candy or some shit. See, there I go again. But anyway, back to the movie. The Way Back. All right. So if you aren't familiar with the film, it's about Ben Affleck's character. His name's Jack Cunningham, and he used to be this really big high school basketball star at this religious, I believe it's a Catholic school, Catholic private school. And he used to be this big basketball star, and he used to be really highly recruited, but he never really played basketball for his own sake. It's another reason. So he ended up just kind of giving basketball up after his high school career. He never went to college, never did anything with it. So he's kind of down on his luck. There are some other stuff that happened in his past that, it gets him down, and he's an alcoholic. And that's kind of this main theme of overcoming alcoholism in this show, and not this show, this film. And his old school, asks him to become the next basketball coach for their school because they suck. They're really bad. I don't think they've won a game yet in that year. So they ask him to coach, to come back and coach since he's a legendary player. They have his jersey hanging on the wall in the arena or, the basketball court in the gym. So yeah, it's kind of like your redemption story. It's it's a basketball movie. It's it's a similar type of it's a pretty easy formula to crack. You have a bad team, you get a new coach, and then you get good again. And that's kind of what this film follows for the most part. And honestly, I kind of wish they would have just completely followed that formula, but again, you don't want to completely dive into the cliche, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now this film, the elements, the new the new types of twists that they introduce into this classic sports movie genre is, very interesting. They add a couple of new elements, darker elements. It's kind of a darker setting. Like, you can even see, like, the tone. It's almost like, I'm not going to say Fincher, but it just kind of has this kind of, I don't know, grainy, dark feel tint to it, all the shots. Plus, it's not really a sports movie. It's more of a movie about overcoming alcoholism, really, because our main character, Ben Affleck's character, Jack Cunningham, is an alcoholic, and he's a functional alcoholic, but it also, like, takes over his life, and he lets it rule his life. Anything bad that happens, he's drinking. That's just how he deals with his issues, and that's not a healthy way to deal with your issues, obviously, like you see in this movie, as I'm drinking whiskey at fucking 1:30. Maybe I'm an alcoholic. Maybe. It's probably, though. Not really. I got some whiskey here. I'm just shamelessly plugging local distillery on my way home from work. They're really great. If you live in the Pittsburgh area, I definitely suggest stopping. I think they're on the Mount Nebo exit, if that makes any sense. McLaughlin Distillery, they're really great. And that's a promotionless, promotion. That's not a sponsorship. Like, that is, I just really like, their shit. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, alcoholism, that's what the film is really about. And the story, like, sort of maybe after the first 2/3, kind of sort of the mid, but like middle end, like, something happens in the film, and it's like this real weird twist that, like, you really weren't expecting, and you're like, oh, okay, interesting. I don't know if it really helps the film or not. It's kind of what held the film back for me a little bit. Like, they focus on Ben's story, Ben Affleck's character's, Jack Cunningham's story. Like, obviously they focus on him because he's clearly the main actor of the film, and it's fucking Ben Affleck. I get that, but, like, I just wish they kind of focused on the team a little bit more and the kids. They kind of do it a little bit with the star of the team, but nothing really comes of it, really. Like, you don't see him, like, get recruited or, I don't know, sort of progress. I don't know. It's just something about it. The film just leaves you wanting more. Like, they kind of, it seemed like the whole film, especially the ending, just felt really anticlimactic to me. Mainly because of that main, like, story narrative shift that happens towards the end, sort of the end. And it just kind of, like, I get it, this is a film about alcoholism and it's about Ben Affleck's character. It's not really about the team, but I feel like they could have used the team more on helping him get over his stuff. I mean, it's just kind of, I really wanted to see more about the team and the basketball rather than Ben just drinking and dealing with his family stuff. Because it's like, I mean, again, that's kind of a harsh thing to say because his family stuff is supposed to be the interesting parts and the different parts of this story, because you don't want to fall into a cliche. But I think that's not really a terrible thing to fall into a cliche, as long as you do the cliche right. We'll talk about that with the next film that I'm going to be talking about. But, like, if you do the cliche right, it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. It will age well. But, like, now, like, you try to do something a little bit different and darker, you kind of, I don't know, you just kind of isolate your audience a little bit, and it just makes the film anticlimactic. There's really not an adversary in the film other than alcoholism with Ben's character. Like, there's no other coach. Like, there's a small beef with another coach because he's kind of an asshole, I guess. But, like, there's not really another team or, like, some adversity within the team, really. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like I'm shitting on this film a lot, but it's really not bad. It's a good film. It's well made. It's incredibly well acted. Ben Affleck gives a great performance. You clearly see that he cares about this role. All the actors bring in. I think all the kids do a really great job on the team. They're all really good. The basketball scenes are interesting enough. It's filmed in an interesting way. Aesthetically, it's a good movie. Like, technically, it's a good film. I just think the narrative choices that they make really hold the film back for me, and they make it really anticlimactic. And I think a film like this really needs to stick the landing to really, hook me in and say that this is a really great film. So it is what it is. I think, it's not really, it's kind of cliche, but like kind of not at the end. Like, it follows this cliche path, and then the thing happens, and you're like, oh, okay, well, all right. I mean, I just felt like when the ending happened, you're just kind of like, okay, cool. I feel like, again, this kind of fits in the same. If you've followed my channel a bit, I reviewed a film called Big Time Adolescence. I think early on, a couple episodes ago. And I think it was like my first film that I didn't give the movie magic to. And that film is not bad. It's just I didn't feel a personal connection with it. So it really wasn't overall very memorable, and I never really want to watch it. I'll never watch it again. And it's kind of similar how I feel about this one. Like, again, if you know people who probably suffer from alcoholism, I feel like this film is a lot more personal to you and probably will connect with you a lot more. That's why I don't think this film is bad. I just don't think you really needed, like, to put it in the sports film genre of, movies. I don't know. I just don't think you really needed a basketball movie to make a film about overcoming alcoholism interesting. And I think just, I don't know. I think having the film be a little bit more cliche would have made the film a little bit more better and a little bit more enjoyable. But, it is what it is. Like, it's just comparing this film with Gavin O'Connor's other two films, Warrior and The Accountant. I mean, Warrior is in my top 100 films of all time. I've revealed it already, I believe. I forget what number it is. It is 61, I believe. I'm looking at my list. I can't really read that far. I have glasses. I'm pretty much blind. But and The Accountant is also a smaller film that a lot of people kind of didn't like, but I really liked that movie. I loved The Accountant. If you haven't seen The Accountant, check that film out. It's really great. And if you haven't watched Warrior, watch Warrior 2. Both of those films are phenomenal. And I think this film really pales into comparison with those two. But, still a good film. Again, if you know people or if you've overcome addiction and alcoholism, it's just probably a lot more personal for you, and you probably would enjoy this a lot more than I did. But I didn't really have a personal connection here, and I felt like the film was a little bit anticlimactic at the end, so it didn't really do it that much for me. Kind of like Big Time Adolescence, and like Big Time Adolescence, I didn't give that film the movie magic, and I think it's the same here. I don't really think this film really has the movie magic, but I really wouldn't have that deter you from the film. Just because a film doesn't have the movie magic doesn't mean it's not a decent film and wouldn't connect with other people. Hello, thanks for watching that clip of my episode of Nerd Out Sanctuary. I appreciate you watching. If you don't know, this is a video podcast about, movies, TV, video games, other types of entertainment, comic books, novels, maybe occasionally. I don't know, I don't really read that much, but when I do, I want to talk about it. So yeah, just know that there's a lot more of these, and I appreciate you if you give me a like and subscribe and watch more. If you're just if you're watching here on YouTube, know that this is also a podcast, an audio podcast. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play, so you can download my podcast episodes, listen to them while you're driving in the car, taking a shit, making dinner, doing your laundry, or whatever, when you're at work, when you're supposed to be working, but you're just kind of like, mindless, doing some mindless tasks while listening to my podcast. It's the shit. Hopefully you guys, get good recommendations out of me, and hope you guys keep enjoying my show. So yeah, thanks. And bye.